What up? I'm Jason, Foolish Cook. And today we're gonna try Sheldo's Kitchen coffee cake recipe. I kind of stumbled upon this. I was, scrolling the YouTubes for something tasty, something delicious, and Sheldo's recipe calls for a roux in the batter. It was kind of unique, kind of spoke to me, so let's give it a shot. We're gonna line our pan with parchment paper. Sheldo has kind of a dope trick that feels worth trying out, as I normally just shove a bunch of parchment paper in there and it sits terribly. Only took consulting the video 3 times, but we now have a perfectly parchment lined pan. We're gonna go in with 100 grams of sugar, 11 grams of all-purpose flour, 8 grams of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cardamom, which Sheldo does mention this is optional. I feel like it's required. If it's optional, we gotta try it. I don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon. I have 1/4 of a teaspoon, and I'll do half of that. 3/4 of a teaspoon of cocoa powder, which Sheldo mentions is for color. So I'll be curious to see if we can taste it. Filling is now done. Let's go to the batter. Okay, realized all my notes were for a 9x9, so let's run it back. I'm gonna make the roux. So we're gonna go 70 grams of neutral oil. We are then gonna go in with 67 grams of all-purpose flour. And in Sheldo's recipe, he calls out making the roux in the microwave. And I like it. Simple. We don't need to dork around with dirtying another pan. So he recommends microwaving for 30-second increments and then whisking in between. And I think he mentions the goal is to hit 250. Okay. So we've hit 250. Okay, and we'll set this aside for later. Okay, on to the actual batter now. And to get started, we need to cream our butter and sugar together. And that should be at room temperature. Of course, I forgot. And we need to get it to room temperature. Next, we are going to cream our butter and sugar together. So I have 154 grams of room temperature / just a kiss melted. Should be okay, famous last words. But we're gonna go in with 154 grams of butter, and then we are going to go in with 338 grams of sugar. Now, Sheldo does mention in his video that because of the roux, some of our fat is, a lot of our fat is in the roux. And so creaming our butter and sugar together is gonna be, it's not gonna work super well until we make the addition of an egg. Okay, so next we are going to start adding our eggs. We're gonna start with 1 egg and get it creamed, incorporate a little bit of air, and then we'll go in with the rest of the eggs. So these should be room temperature so that our butter doesn't seize. Okay, next we're gonna add 20 grams of vanilla extract, which honestly kind of seems like a lot, but we'll stick to the recipe. Next, we're going in with 11 grams of baking powder and 4 grams of baking soda. And in Sheldo's recipe, he does recommend putting it directly into the batter. And he just calls out to make sure that it gets thoroughly mixed. So we'll have to make sure that this gets stirred in its entirety. And then we're gonna go in with 4 grams of baking soda. All right, next we're going to measure out our sour cream. So we're gonna go in with 400 grams sour cream. We are going to incorporate half of our sour cream, I think half of our roux, and a third of our flour. And then we'll repeat that until we've used all of our ingredients. I can't remember. I think it is half the roux. Could be the whole roux. I think it's the whole roux. But we'll start with half of our sour cream. I think we put in all of our roux, to be honest. Let's go with all of our roux. And then we're gonna do a third of our flour, so 370 grams. I'm just gonna go in with 100 because I don't want to math that out. Okay, we've done 125 flour. And we're gonna blend that, mix that, blend it. What? Okay, then we're gonna go in with the rest of our sour cream. Okay, so we're gonna add 245 grams of flour. Are you freaking kidding me? I love it. All right, just projectile batter across my kitchen. Frack. Oh my gosh, let's now layer the cake. So we're gonna go in with half our batter, put on our cinnamon sugar topping, put the other half on. Sheldo has a super cool scoop and kind of actually make sure he's only doing half. I don't have a super cool scoop. I'm gonna eyeball half. Let's get this spread out. I do like the consistency of the batter so far. It's pretty spreadable. All right, now we are going to sprinkle on our cinnamon sugar. Okay, this is the part where we've got to be a little bit careful on how we spread this. So we get our nice even layer in the middle. Sheldo had some words of wisdom on how to spread this at this point. I'm gonna be honest, I am completely blanking on what they are, and I think we just go for it at this point. I have blasted batter across my kitchen, and feels like we're going downhill. Okay, last step, making the crumb topping. We're just gonna toss it all in a bowl, and we'll get in there and break it up with our hands. Sheldo has a great idea of making this all in a single bowl, and I love that idea. I destroyed my bowl and my island here, so I did clean up. This is a cleaned bowl, but his recommendation is to do the same bowl, and I love that idea, and I support it. So let's start with 187 grams of all-purpose flour. Next, we're gonna go in with 32 grams of cornstarch. Okay, then we're gonna go in with 8 grams of cinnamon. Again, we're gonna go in with an 1/8 teaspoon of cardamom. Then we're gonna go 4 grams of salt. I'm gonna be completely honest. This just made me realize that I forgot to put the salt in the batter. Okay, well, foolish cook. That's me. 200 grams of sugar. And lastly, 154 grams of butter. And I honestly think I'm gonna take Sheldo's recommendation here of just getting in with my hands, getting involved. Let's get this measured out first. I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot the salt in the batter, and it feels like in my mind this will work perfectly and we won't be able to tell the difference. Is that reality? Probably not. Let's go for it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sprinkle 6 grams of salt, which is what it calls for, onto the top, hopefully hitting each section so that when we cut it up, you won't even be able to tell the difference. That's what my mind tells me. Make sure we get all the edges. This is perfect. This is exactly how we wanted this recipe to go. Okay, that's 6 grams. Perfect. No one will ever know. Now, on to the crumb topping. So, I think we definitely want to try to leave some big chunks in here. And I think Sheldo mentions as the cake bakes, the outside will kind of bubble up first, so we really want to try to hit the crumb on the outside. I'm going to take his recommendation. I'll be honest, this is looking pretty delightful. So I think next we're just going to toss it in the oven, 325. We're gonna go an hour, and then I think Sheldo recommends checking it every like 5 to 10 minutes with a skewer, and we just want to check it until it comes out clean. We made it. Let's depan this and give it a try. All right, I will say definitely +1 for Sheldo's parchment paper folding technique. This is exquisite. My gosh. I do feel like with how much effort we've put into this, at this point, I think we just measure this out. What do we think? That just got in my shoe. A couple things I think we gotta rate. Oh, texture. My gosh, look at that texture. Oh, she looks so light, fluffy. Oh, gosh. Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate this, you should definitely try and make it. It is delightful. The recipe is relatively easy. I like that Sheldo really takes a lot of thought into trying to do everything in one bowl, and microwaving the roux, just kind of simplifying a lot.